It has been nearly an hour since the polls closed in New York's primary races tonight, and already we have a projected winner in the most expensive House primary race in American history, where Westchester County Executive George Latimer has been attempting to unseat incumbent Congressman and Progressive Squad member Jamaal Bowman. NBC News can now project George Latimer as the projected winner.
Take us into the last few days, behind the scenes, if you will. What were you seeing on the ground?
You could feel movement over the last week, 10 days of the campaign. We have early voting in New York that began on Saturday, June 15th. So we had some data to work with, which created some enthusiasms that the areas of the district that were likely to be the most supportive, areas with high Jewish population, but also other demographics as well, were coming out very strongly during early voting. And that was good news. And then as I was doing events over the course of those last few days, I could feel the energy and the drive. And what's important is that our campaign reached out across all the different diverse elements of this district. As strong a support, essential support as I had in the Jewish community. I had a press conference on Monday before the election with 7 prominent ministers from Black clergy members from Mount Vernon and the Bronx who were also supportive of me. I was able to go into communities that have other different ethnic backgrounds and feel the surge. We stayed on the ground and we could feel that we were doing the right thing with our energy and time.
Well, thank you. And I love that what you described really was that you guys put together a broad, diverse coalition really of support that led you into the finish line. And when you got the news, were you in shock? You were elated? You were all of those things?
I was elated, but I will tell you, because of my background, I have a business background as well as a background in government. I immediately started to thinking about, after this is over, how do I unify elements of the party? How do we go to November with a positive statement? And I spoke of unity in an address, and I wanted to broaden it. I don't want people to see the divisions in this race between different groups.
You traveled to Israel before you even announced as a candidate back in November when the war was at its height. What was your takeaway from that trip? Did it have any influence on your decision to run? What ultimately made you decide to enter this race? Because this was not, you were taking a risk by doing this, and we so appreciate it.
So I hadn't been there between 2006 and when we went last November with a group of other elected officials. And of course, the incidents of October 7th was about 5 or 6 weeks in the rearview mirror. And then, of course, the story that I tell all the time about my trip is that while we were walking through Kibbutz Kfar Aza, there was an explosion overhead. It was the Iron Dome at work. And then it dawned on me, this is what Israeli people live with, the constant threat that something can come to destroy them or their life. And that shapes the way Israel has to look at the world. I saw a sense of resignation that now we're going to have to take action because this threat is on our border. It's manifested itself in a vicious implementation of the threat, and we just can't let it stay there waiting for another chance to happen.
Congressman Bowman and his allies often spoke negatively about the pro-Israel community. Their focus in the race constantly mentioning AIPAC and dark money and all of the rest of it. How do you think about this criticism, and what do you think were their intentions? What were they trying to accomplish here?
Well, I think, in general, they made a strategic decision to go negative on me, the campaign, and all of the people that were supportive of me as a way to gin up their support. It didn't work at the end of the day, but to vilify the Jewish community and the resources that have come from that Jewish community is pretty close to a dog whistle here.
What did it mean for you to have this wide national support from the district, beyond the district? How did it translate into your campaign success?
It was essential that there was a network that was there larger than just what we could do within the district. And we received more than 50% of our funding from people in the district. So we got our message out and we prevented them from having the dominance of the airwaves. And then the natural baseline of the district, in which we had good ground game and volunteers, and I worked hard. it brought through the success that shows that he really had lost touch with the district. If you're an incumbent and you lose a primary by 17 points, that's a statement. I don't care where your money came from. I don't care what the demographic realities are. You lost your district. You lost your district.
Absolutely. And the many translated into that very concrete 17+ point lead as the final votes are tallied. Though it was a tough battle and clear that it was creating some sort of intra-party feud, how do you think this is going to affect your ability to work with other Democrats in the caucus and Congress?
So the bottom line is I walk in the door with some relationships to begin and to build with, both in the district and in Washington. My intent is to reach out to have the broadest number of contacts and quote unquote friendships that I can have. But that's my mindset. And back in the district, that's my mindset to reach out into those areas of the district that I may have not done as well on primary days I'd have liked to go into those districts to meet people. Even though I won the primary, I give up on nobody. And I think over time, the message of inclusion is stronger than the message of exclusionary politics. And you get that on the far extremes in American politics. I'm in the club, you're not. That's not America. That's not America. And I don't think it's a viable long-term political strategy for those that want to create a small group of people in a club. You need to have a universal group and you work together on the things you can agree upon.
We really appreciate and really looking forward to, building this relationship with you further in terms of, pro-Israel policy on Capitol Hill.
Well, I know how much sacrifice other people put into this race, how many people donated. And it is nothing I take lightly when someone takes their hard-earned money and puts it toward a political campaign. People who got on telephones and made telephone calls, people who put a lawn sign on their lawn, who under normal circumstances would say, I have a beautiful lawn, I'm not going to put a lawn sign on it. But they did all of those things. Thank you, Yana. Thank you very much for your time and your energy and your effort.